So Hillary talked a little bit about the history of the mafia in Italy. I'm going to talk more about a modern perspective and what the mafia is like in Italy today. So the mafia in Italy today is much different than it used to look like, and World War II had a lot to do with it. And I'm going to talk about how it really evolved from being politically and governmentally oriented to be more economically oriented, and that's where it stores its power today. But first, I just want to establish um, and kind of deny the myth. I don't know. Me personally, before I did this research, like I didn't realize how big of an impact the mafia had in Italy. And the first thing that I just want to say is like the mafia is very real in Italy and very influential and powerful in Italy. It's something to be taken very seriously. And I thought it was kind of cool what professor said in class the other day about if you're quiet, you're good. If not, you're going to have some problems because that's such a common theme I saw in my research, and I thought that was really cool making that connection between class. So that was pretty interesting. Um, so the first thing to establish is um, the difference between the support of the mafia and the different groups that support and are against it. Um, Recently, since World War II, there's been a lot of resistance to the mafia, and this is kind of a new thing. But the supporters of the mafia, they're known as Sicilianists, and they're comprised mostly of the people in the mafia, the patrons, the people that follow it, and different people that have power in the community. And they believe that the mafia is a product of Sicilian culture and that it's a very real part of their culture. It's developed over many years and that it should be taken seriously and they should take pride in it, and that if the mafia is being attacked, it's an attack on Sicilian culture. Um, on the other hand, we got the anti-mafia, which is the exact opposite. They say that that's not part of Sicilian culture. Sicilian culture is much more than just the mafia. Sicily has been around, and people have lived in Sicily way longer than the mafia has existed. The mafia was inspired by different things, and they put light to that. And they act in two main ways, and that's prosecution and social science and history. So, prosecution-wise, they just hired, there's new prosecutors and judges that have the purpose of trying to eliminate the mafia and bring light to their causes. And social science and history, that's another way they act, and that's just through studying and research and um, teaching, and that's really all about trying to prove how it's really not that big a part of their culture, and that's a really effective way in which they do it. But as I was saying before, they really have shifted from being governmentally oriented to economically oriented, and I thought it was pretty interesting how they made that shift and how they were able to infiltrate the economy and become a huge powerhouse in the Italian economy. So it started in the 1960s. Just as in America, there's a lot of business starting up in Italy as well. So the Cosa Nostra built much needed industry and infrastructure. And the mafia served as the promoters of these industries. So they're the ones that are being the entrepreneurs. They're starting it up, so they have the power in these companies now. So they get the company started, and from there, the anti-mafia tries to say that they have too much power in it, there's too much control, um, and there's not enough good leadership in it. So what do? They put it upon themselves to buy the companies and not only be promoters of the companies and entrepreneurs of them, but manage them and own them as well. So now they have complete control. So, of course, the anti-mafia gives even more resistance to that and says, no, like you're just making it worse. So what the mafia does is they respond to that by making a shareholding company. Now, I think this was the most important way and the most effective move on their part to gain control of the economy, because what they did was they persuaded major companies that were set up in accordance with the law. So these are legal companies to have a relationship with them, and this conjunction or this combination of these two interests, legal and illegal, just creates a bit of a problem because now there's no telling what's good and what's bad and what's legal and what's illegal. So from there, we can talk about this thing called the Pisa, which is the way in which the mafia collects their money from the people, and the peso is protection money paid by a business to the mafia, and it is extremely strongly enforced in Palermo. So essentially, it's just the way things work there. These small businesses pay the mafia for their protection, whether they like it or not, just because the mafia has control of that land. Um, so obviously, that has sparked a lot of controversy, and obviously people aren't going to want to pay it. But it's not that easy because they strictly enforce it. So the first one to try to resist the peso openly was Libero Grassi in 1991. He was a textile manufacturer. And what happened? He was murdered almost immediately. Um, in 2007, Rodolfo Wahana resisted it, and almost right away, his whole warehouse was inflamed. So, as you can see, it's not very easy to just resist and deny the peso. So, they're really basically forced to comply. So, lastly, how does Italy take a stance on the mafia? And they've recently taken open stance against the mafia. In 2007, Italy's current president, Giorgio Napolitano, called for an effective mobilization of the state and civil society against organized crime. So that's where we're at right now, moving forward with the mafia. It's really interesting, so I'm trying to stay in touch and keep learning about it as we go forward. But thank you.